So this short video is going to look at the difference between costume and clothes and how do I design a costume. So the first one, it's going to be really quick. Are we wearing costumes or are we wearing clothes? And what's the difference? So you've got a suit. But then if you want to make it a costume suit, you're going to change things. You're going to exaggerate. You're going to change the colour. You're going to change everything about it so it tells us something about that character. Whereas clothes are something simple, costumes go deeper. Costumes show us the very depth of the person. A costume designer has the ability to present the inner world of the character in a visual way. So how do I design the characters? Well, character design is based on two things. The text. So what's written, or it can be a screenplay, it can be a script, it can also be a piece of music if you're designing for dance. And the style and the vision of the production, and that's the brief. And you have to fit within these things. Now, if you have a look at this, you can see all decisions of the design should be based on the brief or the text. You need to look at what the text says about the time and the place of the setting. You need to look at historical and geographical context because that's an important jumping off point for all fields of the design. You need to determine these things. You need to look up the fashions and the ritual garments of the time and the place so that you are culturally accurate. And you can see that in these images. You can see that they're from different times and different places, and that's all reflected by their use of costume. We also have to look at what the brief or the text says about the characters. Look at the characters' descriptions. What do the characters say about each other? How do the characters describe themselves? What's their social class? What's their occupation? Do they discuss their clothing? All of these are really good points for us to make notes on and then put it into their costume. We also have to think what the aesthetic style or the genre of the piece is. We need to think about the mood or the tone in which the costumes are worn, and then we can change our design because of this. Now, how do costumes need to be different? So, for example, this is a slapstick piece, and you can see it's a comedy, and there's a comedy around a beheaded man. You can see how they've worked with this. But then, what about a dark tragedy with a beheaded man? How are the costumes different? All decisions about the design should be based on the style and the vision of the production. And remember, it's determined by the director, who usually has the final authority on everything. So however the director chooses to interpret, you have to fit with it. And so, for example, if the director wants everybody on stage to look like flowers, and you disagree with this, there is nothing you can do about it. In the real world, if you're disagreeing with the aesthetic ideals, you're going to lose your job. As difficult as this is for artists and directors and anybody else, you have to suck it up and do it with the design that you've been told. And to this end, you've got to have lots of meetings with the director and with the lighting designer and everybody to ensure that your ideas are going to fit with the piece as a whole. Now, these are some awesome pictures. Let's look at this. What do you reckon the brief or the vision for this production was? I love the crazy use of colour. I love how it's block colours, and they're going to be used to signify different people and different characteristics. I love how vibrant it is. But if your idea as a designer was to do something which was classical with muted pastels, you were going to have to change your idea because the brief would have been different. Now, as a costume designer, we fit with all elements of design. All these things get manipulated to change our costume design. And we're going to be looking at those in the next few videos.